Okay, Italy-Wales has finished 1-0 in Rome in the Stadio Olimpico. In the other game in the group, which I didn't watch, was actually more of an entertaining game, finished 3-1 to Switzerland. So Turkey have been eliminated with no wins, no draws. They've only scored 1 goal in 3 games and conceded, well, a hell of a lot, basically. They've conceded 8 goals, so Turkey were very, very disappointing. On the Italian-Wales side of things, Italy made a whole host of changes. Some of them injury forced, some of them squad rotation to allow all the players to have at least some game time should any other injuries occur. The Welsh put out a pretty strong lineup, as expected. They were already in a commanding position by virtue of beating Turkey in that draw against Wales, so they already had 4 points. They were already in a very commanding position, and a draw would have seen them qualify anyway. But I think they set up to try and win the game, try and nick a goal, and they were as stubborn and as competitive as you would expect a team which is clearly on paper outclassed. Now the Italians didn't win the game on paper, they won the game on the pitch, which is what other teams in previous games over the last couple of nights have failed to do, notably England and France. Win the game on paper, but don't fulfil that potential on the pitch with the opposition playing the way the opposition played. The only goal comes towards the end of the first half from a free kick. Pessina obviously scores the goal. Verratti swings the ball in, and it is a brilliant finish, shooting against his body basically. He's facing towards the ball, goals to his left-hand side, and he just swings his ball across his body. It's a very, very good finish. Danny Ward's beaten. There's not a lot he can do with that. I mean, his movement, could he be slightly further over? He can't adjust his feet in time. But I'm surprised it is only 1-0 with the amount of joy the Italians had, especially down their right-hand side, and to a certain extent down their left, and even through the middle. They were opening Wales up quite regularly in this game. The Wales were playing a rearguard action, but they had their chances on the counter-attack, so Wales weren't completely out of this game. They could have snuck in a draw in there, but I am surprised the Italians didn't put 2 or 3 past the Welsh as a minimum. I think the squad changes may have disrupted some of the combinations the Italian team had going into this game. But 1-0 at half-time, I think that's a fair reflection on how the game was going. Second half, I am surprised there were no goals. I mean, Danny Ward played very well in the Welsh goal and has cemented himself as Welsh number 1 over Wayne Hennessy. The Ampadu red card, I think, is the big talking point out of the game. It's debatable. Should it be a yellow? Should it be a red? He's gone over the ball. Stud showing, catch the player in his ankle with a fair bit of force. If that's a Premier League game, is that a red? Is that a yellow? The referee has deemed it a red. The Welsh players were a bit surprised, I think, by the decision. And there was I wouldn't say disagreement, but a differing opinion between the commentators. John Hartson, maybe a bit biased, thought that was a yellow. But the referee that ITV have, as the ex-referee the ITV have, from refereeing perspective, said, that was a red. There was enough significant force behind the challenge to warrant a straight red. That means Wales have to do a bit more of a rearguard action. They're now down to 10 men. They've lost a key midfielder in Ampadu. He's played very, very well up to this point. He's played very well for Sheffield United this season as well, out on loan from Chelsea. And that does obviously disrupt plans. However, Wales weren't completely out of it. I mean, Gareth Bale had an opportunity to draw it all at 1-1, puts the ball over the bar. Not his best game. He was better in the last game against Turkey. He was a key component to that win. Aaron Ramsey as well. They looked a little bit more, I think, a little bit lethargic. I think the travel from Baku to Rome might have had an impact on that, and also the amount of energy they exerted in the last group game against the Turks in quite hot, humid conditions in Azerbaijan. But the Welsh were still dogged in defence. And the fact it was only 1-0 shows how well the Welsh defended to a certain extent, but they were being opened up, especially down their left-hand side. So going further into the tournament, as they have qualified as second overall, that is an area that they will have to address. They now have lost Ampadu to a suspension. He's going to miss a game because of the red card. And as it's a straight red, it'll be 2 games. So they're a player down with suspension. No injuries, thankfully. The Italians haven't conceded a goal in 10 games, and they're now 30 games unbeaten, which equals the national record set in 1939. So this Italian side, well, I think the changes disrupted the flow. It wasn't their strongest lineup. Look for them to get even better. They got through the group, and they were still trying to get a second goal. Even towards the end of the game, they were pushing for that second. They didn't want to settle for a 1-0. Shows the intent of this team. They're not willing to run the play down in the corner. They just want to score as many goals as possible. So it's a good positive attacking mindset. The Welsh can be very happy with their group stage performance. They have been dogged and competitive in every match, and that game against Turkey was a real high point, and I think they can take a lot from learning from this defeat. A little bit of naivety in certain areas. There's some young players there who will learn a lot from this experience, but a pretty good result. And the Swiss will have to wait to see how other results go in their favour, because they have a negative goal difference by virtue of that heavy defeat to the Italians 3-0. We'll have to see what happens with the Swiss going forward. It'll be interesting. So the Swiss, obviously, we'll have to wait on the results, but a very interesting game. Italy 1, Wales 0, Switzerland 3, Turkey 1. So there we go. That's Group A done. And then tomorrow we've got several games to go through, and then we're going through the final stages, the final rounds of the group stages. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you tomorrow.